Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by FPL Salah for another massive video. This is the week, by the way, guys, that if you're not sure about fantasy, you got to lock in to videos like this. So much value to be gained. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm just the host. I'm not the one that's bringing all the knowledge, the tips and advice. Abdul is this week. And Abdul, it's a pleasure to have you back on. A massive, massive week, as I just said. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is like Christmas time for FPL managers, isn't it?
Exactly.
So yeah, I'll probably be using my chips over the next, I'm planning to use chips in the next 3 game weeks. So let's see how it goes.
Okay, so we're recording this Thursday lunchtime. All the Champions League games have finished, of course. And I want to start by reading out a comment from one of you guys on yesterday's video. Now, the comment is this. It's from Sir Alex Bateman. So thank you very much for the comment. It's a very interesting one because I think a lot of us are in a similar position, including myself. It reads, I thought I'd planned well for a bench boost 32, but Villa minutes and Saka Gabriel injuries have thrown everything out with the water. I could gamble on a Martinez, Konza, Rodgers, Saliba bench. So that is like, all the Villa Arsenal players that potentially could be rotated. We'll talk about individuals later on. But the possibility of all of them are out or playing very little minutes is real. My current thinking is actually bench boost in 33. I have 12 potential doublers, but it makes my team selection this week a mess, and the only extra bench boost I'm actually gaining is the keeper I'd have for bench boost 32 anyway. Total mess. There we go. I think that is just worth talking about in general. The Arsenal and Villa players that now might be rotated for this upcoming week. I mean, we sort of knew this would be a thing. I don't think we thought it would be as much of a thing. The Gabriel injury has obviously heightened this. Yeah. Saka as well. The Villa players, I wasn't personally expecting to see as much rotation against Forest in the last game as a Konza owner myself. So yeah, what do you think about that comment and where's your head at with all of that?
Yeah, I think it's spot on. I think those who had planned a bench between 32 are in a bit of a pickle now, especially if you have Villa players like the ones mentioned, like your Konza, Rodgers, who are probably the most two popular. I think Martinez will be fine. I think he's the one player, the goalkeeper, who will play that game. But the rest of the team is kind of up in the air. I mean, PSG were 3-1 up, but I still think Villa are going to go for that at home.
Of course.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility that they go through. Although it's going to be extremely tough. But yeah, look, now you've got to decide whether. I mean, if you wildcarded in Gameweek 30 or 31 specifically for a bench boost in 32, then it's going to be really difficult to pivot because not only are you going to have to make transfers this week to either, take out players and then bench with this week, or, if you want to pivot to Gameweek 33, you might lose out in points this week. So it's tough. I think it depends on what players you have. I think the types like the likes of Rodgers and any Villa attackers really, apart from Watkins, but I don't think anybody really has him, will probably get rotated. I think Konza is 50-50, I'd say. Saliba, I'd probably put at maybe like 75-80%. I think, there's a chance Arsenal, kind of mass rotate in that game, but there's no real other centre backs for Arsenal who are fit. It's only him and Kiwior. So I think him and Kiwior might start, that game. But look, it's a risk. Those players you mentioned, I think it was Konsa, Saliba, Martinez and Rodgers, did you say?
Yes, that is exactly what it was.
I mean, there's every chance that I'd say there's a good chance that 3 of those players don't start. There's a chance. I think Martinez will start, but the other 3, there is a possibility that they could be benched. If that happens, and especially when you've got 2 centre backs there who might end up playing 0 minutes, it could be a disaster. So yeah, it's tough. I think it depends what players you've got. It depends how much it's going to cost you to either make transfers and bench boost in 32. With unforeseen transfers which you didn't really plan, or whether you move to Gameweek 33.
I think what Alex is saying as well is important. That for 33 he has potentially 12 doublers, but actually looking at his bench only, and that is all that the bench boost is. It's not. It doesn't matter about who's in your actual team. Your 11, that is. He'd only actually get one more fixture with that keeper, and then the fixtures for those players that he has in his team. We're not sure exactly, but they might be worse. I mean, I know for my team, I'm in a similar sort of position. I don't have triple captain, but I'm thinking of I was set up to bench boost this week, and if I bench boost this week, my bench boost will be Kepa, who's got a decent fixture home to Fulham.
Hmm.
Gabriel, who I'll transfer out for probably Ruben Diaz, who will then stay on my bench. Palace at home. Could be Saliba as well, but decent single fixture. Then Neco Williams, who has Everton at home, could be on the bench. Konza will probably be the one that's actually on the bench, to be fair. And then Marmoush. So that is the bench, which is, Marmoush, Konza, Ruben Diaz, and Kepa, which are all single game week fixtures, but pretty strong fixtures and players in
I
general.
think in your position, Jack, I think you're good to go on the bench boost.
Yeah.
I think you
But
know,
but then looking at the next week, like for whoever you've got, like the fixtures are much worse if you have those sort of players,
yeah, yeah, and then
or sorry, whoever else is in your team. For example, like if I did it next week, then I'd have Josh Murphy on the bench. Maybe I could transfer him
yeah,
to someone else. I'd have Trippier on the bench. You might have like a Newcastle defender on the bench for Villa away. I mean, that's not a good fixture to bench boost. I'd have Neco Williams on the bench as well, who's got Tottenham away. I mean, these are worse fixtures, so it's tough to know with that extra week of information. Um, the rotation of the Arsenal and Villa games, especially, it's tough to know what to do. But
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's team dependent. Like, look, you're in a similar position. You're a bench boost 32, and I think your position. I think you're just bench boost with that team because you've still got the other players up. Barring Konsa, are pretty good. And I think you just take that risk on Konsa starting. If you've got two or three players who are at risk of starting, like the previous example that Alex Bateman gave, then you're in a bigger dilemma. Then what to do becomes a lot tougher.
let's before we talk about your team specifically, I just want to talk about just continue on with the chip conversation and just
Yeah.
talk about when else potentially could we use these chips if not, say your team really isn't looking good for either of the 2 weeks and you're actually like, well, in reality, I don't really like it for any of these weeks. Can I have a look at like a single game week? Can I have a look at another double perhaps later on? I mean, that's obviously more likely. What do you think about that? Is there going to be another chance outside of this week or the next week to use a bench boost?
Yeah, and I think we're looking at both chips, right? Bench boost and triple
Yeah,
captain. Like, if you let's do the bench boost first. Like, if you don't fancy this week or even 33, like we've got the likely double in 36, which like to Ben Crellin and Tulha and the fixture gurus have predicted it's going to happen. So there's a chance there, but then you know, the bench boost is ideally a chip you want to get out of the way. You don't want to, so then you're gonna have to like kind of build up your transfers to plan for the game week 36 bench boost. But another option is just to play it in a single game week. When you come across a game week where you think that's a good set of fixtures I've got there. Most of us have got money spread in the squad anyway. With a kind of a decent 15-man squad. So that's two options there you can go for. For a game week 36 or even a single game week if you really don't fancy this week.
yeah,
I don't see much wrong with that because I don't think the bench boost is it's not a hugely powerful chip. I mean, it's a chip where if I mean on the week you play it you could profit hugely, but if you need to make kind of sacrifices beforehand and after, then you've got to add up those points as well that you may have lost. If you weren't planning for a bench boost in 36, for example, right? So it could hinder you before you actually play the bench boost. That's why it's a chip. I think it's just it's good to play straight after or as close to a wild card as possible. That's why we all do
yeah,
it because we just want to get out of the way. So there's that option with the triple captain. I think for me, this situation I'm in, like I think 32, you've got a good option there in Isaac, but then you've also got the issue there with him with his fitness. I know Eddie Howe said he was 100% fit, but then you've got game week 33. We've got issues there with the likes of Saka and Watkins. Whether they're going to be rotated. Saka has been building up his fitness, but we don't know. I think the Ipswich game is 3 days after the second leg,
yeah,
and then the second game of the double game week is like 4 days later. So there could be again rotation there for Isaac. For Saka. Watkins is uncertain right now because Rashford's been starting at number 9. And then you look at game week 36 triple captain. Again, you've got the same issue as you're relying on so many things to happen. I mean, ideally the triple captain you want there is a City player like a Marmoush. Because if City double in that week, they're going to have Southampton and Bournemouth in that double, and that's a good triple captain. I mean, if you look at it kind of in isolation, that is the best triple captain we have if we get it. But whether we get it is the question. I mean, it could well not happen. So you're relying on things to happen for that triple captain. So yeah, so I mean, for bench boost, I think you can. I think there's a more of I guess, an argument to delay it. But for triple captain, I think for me, I think Isaac is probably the best option to use it this week if you still have it.
Okay, I think that is a good place to leave the general discussion. As always, guys, I mean, as you've seen there, I thought I would just talk about that comment in particular because I think it is very, very sort of relevant to lots of people. So if you have queries yourself and you're not sure, I mean, we won't necessarily cover the individual comments in a video, but we could if they're very relevant, just like that. And at the very least, I read all the comments. So if you want a little bit of advice in the comments down below specific to your team, drop a comment. One of us might get to it. It's tough this
Yeah,
time of the season, though, isn't it? I mean, as you like, it is. We do always say, but it is obviously very team dependent. All these
it is. Yeah,
decisions.
it is, and you just got to look at what's best for your team. I mean, even though we've all got, I guess, quite similar teams, one or two players makes all the difference in when you use your chips.
Exactly. Let's talk about your team. You got 60 points last week. Not going to talk about that, but good week.
Yeah,
Um, Leaves you in a good spot for this week, I suppose. The thing with your team as well is you still have those free transfers that you just continue to roll, so you can
yeah,
be aggressive, right?
yeah. So I mean, my plan is now I've got to roll again into game week 33, in which I'll have four free transfers. Or was it five? Let me just double check actually.
I don't know.
Five,
In my
whatever.
head, it was five, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so if I roll, sorry, if I roll, right, so the plan is to roll into game week 33, in which I'll have four free transfer, sorry,
Okay.
five free
Yeah,
transfers.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
I'm getting mixed up. I've not made a
You've got
transfer in that
so many
long.
transfers, man.
I've
What?
not made a
Oh,
transfer in that long. It just feels like what is going on? But yeah, plan is to roll. I mean, my bench will be Gabriel, Rogers, and Konsa, so
yeah,
that's quite a thin bench, I'd say, just in regards to like, I am planning on keeping Gabriel until game week 33 and getting rid of him then because I really don't know what I'm going to do there. I could go for a Ruben Diaz
yeah,
like you've got planned, or maybe even like a Kiwior or a Timber. I'm not really sure on their minutes yet. Having five free transfers for game week 33, I think is going to be really kind of pivotal, really kind of advantageous. I don't think many people are going to have five free transfers going in that game week.
no, absolutely
Um,
not.
so I'll be able to really, uh, if there's any injuries and things like that, which, there probably will be, I can, easily pivot to my plans. So I'm quite happy with that position I'm in. This game week, I plan to play the triple captain and Isaac. I'm about 90% in there. I guess the only thing that would stop me right now would be, Eddie Howe coming out and saying, he picked up a little niggle or he's a little doubt. I mean, I didn't like the fact that I don't know if you watched the Leicester game, but he did signal to the bench for him to come off.
Yeah,
Which at the time I was like, damn, that kind of put the triple captain in doubt. But then Eddie Howe said after the game he was 100% fit. Otherwise, we wouldn't have played him.
I mean, he is that sort of player, isn't he? You know that that injuries are going to be a
Yeah,
risk more than most other players because that is just how his body is.
yeah,
However, he has that potential to just go nuclear in both. I mean, I think I really like both these games. I don't think United and Palace defensively are as bad as like they were earlier on in the season, especially United. I think they are a little bit better, but Newcastle at home, and that is very, very strong.
yeah. I mean, look, the fixtures aren't easy. I think Palace are like the sixth best defense in
Yeah,
the league.
that is. I think that is actually a tough fixture, but
Yeah, but saying that, Newcastle are at home, and Newcastle are a good attacking side who are in a bit
yeah.
of form. So they're 'cause they're going for the Champions League. So I can see goals in both games. And Isaac more or less is involved in the action. I know three goals against Leicester, he didn't get anything, but these things happen. I think generally, if you look over the season, he will be involved in majority of Newcastle's goals. So I'm happy with that decision, and I think looking at all the kind of pros and cons, as was mentioned earlier, there's just so many other uncertainties for the triple captains in game week 33 and in 36 possible. If that double game week goes ahead, I just think at the moment, we're in quite a good spot with Isaac because I don't think Wilson is going to take any starts off him. I think Isaac, if he's fit, he will start both games. We know Wilson's going to take minutes off him. He might get. I'm guessing like Isaac will get maybe 70 to 75 minutes in each game, around 140 to 150 minutes, and
Mm.
for me, that's enough.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, yeah, at Fantasy Football Hub, we have Wilson's predicted points very, very low. Not even 100% sure he gets on the pitch. Osula, interestingly, is higher than Callum Wilson for predicted points. I mean, it's minimal,
Yeah,
but just in terms of gauging what might happen there in terms of subs for Isak. I mean, apart from that triple captain decision, which I mean, as I've said, I think I would go triple captain as well. I think it's like, he's gonna. Well, you don't know because it's Eddie Howe, but I think I'd be confident that he's fit to start this set of games.
yeah,
It's Isak, home fixture, and I think the main thing is you just get it out the way. You're done. You can focus on your other chips. Kind of like what you said with bench boost. Like you don't want to bench boost, especially you don't want to be carrying over because it really
yeah.
does have other effects on your team and where you can spend money. But I think with triple captain is similar. If you see a good week, just go for it and get it done. I think this definitely, well, it's got a high chance that this is the best week left to triple captain.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to that. I think you're right. I mean, if you look at the probabilities, I do think if you were to look at probabilities, this would be the the best game, the best player to play it on.
Sure.
You're gonna need loads of things to happen for a better double game week to come up in a better set of circumstances.
Yeah, you've got 99.3 predicted points. Couldn't quite make the 100, which is a real shame, but a gaming rating of 98% is very, very strong. I'm just looking at your team. But the one thing about these, the rotation for your team this week in particular, the Villa Arsenal rotation, is that at least you don't have any benching headaches.
Yeah,
It makes that a bit easier. I don't know if that's
yeah,
necessarily a good thing or not for your like sort of expected points because anyone could miss out.
yeah,
You will have 11, I suppose, if they don't play. Sorry, if Roger and Konza don't play.
yeah. I mean, I'm not expecting. Well, obviously Gabriel's not going to play. I'm not expecting Rodgers to start. I think Konsa is 50-50. So if I think Raya starts, right? But I mean,
He'll
would
play.
you be kind
He'll
of
play.
yeah, he'll play, but again, there's a higher probability than usual, right, that he may get benched,
Yeah.
right? And then I've got Areola there as well, who should play, but which is a really tough fixture, of course, against Liverpool away. But yeah, I'm a bit thin on the bench. If one of my players misses out, then there's a chance I get 1 point off the bench or nobody off the bench.
Let's have a look at your team for 33 because I think your team like now sort of picks itself. I do just want to get your opinions on the best Palace and Arsenal players Palace and Newcastle players for this week because those are obviously the team that's doubling. But in 33, where you would be looking to bench boost, just talk about your thoughts on that as well because obviously that is important for well what you don't do this week you will be able to do next week.
Yeah, I think like when I wildcarded, like I was thinking about setting up a team like I guess a hybrid team, which could bench boost in 32 or 33. But I decided just to go for the 33 bench boost because I just thought, make the decision now. And then also, one of the decisions was as well, just going with Ariel on the bench. I didn't want two expensive keepers there
Yeah.
with Martinez and Raya. So that was always the plan. And just looking at my kind of bench for that week, I mean, I think it's going to look pretty good because I mean, who knows what's going to happen in Game Week 33? But my planned transfers are, Isaac to Watkins. That has taken a bit of a hit now, just with Rodgers starting against PSG. That's one of Villa's most important game of the season. And
Rashford,
Roger,
yeah.
sorry, Roger. What am I saying? Rashford, yeah, he started as number
Rogers,
nine.
that's what they call when they link up.
Rogers,
That's what they call them.
that's funny. I might have used that one actually. But yeah, Rashford started as number nine. So yeah, that's a bit. So I mean, look, if that is the case, I don't really mind keeping Isaac. But the planned transfers were Isaac to Watkins, Burn to Diaz, and Palmer to Saka, and then Gabriel to I guess one of the Arsenal defenders, maybe Timber or Kiwior. I don't think by the time Game Week 33 comes around, I'll have enough for Saliba. But let's see. As I said, other things can happen, which changes those plans. So that leaves me with quite a really strong. That gives me the maximum number of double game weekers I can get for that game week. And that's 12. The bench would be, I guess, Konsa, Areola, and
Well, I'd put probably Ruben Diaz on the bench, which is super strong.
yeah. So it'd be Konsa.
Maybe Salah over him versus Diaz, but I'd probably go Diaz, and then Josh Murphy is your last one.
Yeah. So Murphy, um, Diaz, and Konsa,
Yeah, that's
right?
strong.
And
That's
then
five fixtures plus Southampton
yeah,
for Areola. I mean, that is really strong.
yeah. So that's for me like a really strong bench. I mean, in theory, that's looks a great team, but
Yeah,
we know in double game weeks, things can happen. Who knows if all my players get two fixtures. That's always rare. But as long as majority of them get at least, if they're benched in one game, at least get a start. Sorry, come off the bench in the other game. That's fine. I'm bringing in Saka, who's going to be a risk as well. Who knows if he starts both games
yeah.
in that double. But I mean, who else is there for Arsenal? I mean, I think Raya will start two, and then defender to bring in. Hopefully, will start two. And then outside Saka, I don't really see it. Anybody else being a worthy shout. So I'm just gonna have to go with Saka and hope he starts two, or at least gets decent minutes off the bench if he gets rested in one. So yeah, that's the plans. And then game week 34 will be the free hit. I
Yeah.
don't think we can kind of talk too much about that just now. I think near the time will be ideal.
That's the beauty of the free hit. You just forget about it and
Yeah.
attack it.
So,
I'm so tempted to just go very differential on a free hit. Well, we'll talk about that down the line. But I think free hit
yeah,
week
yeah.
is fun because you can't really lose out too much because you're not making these decisions that are like I'm thinking of sort of
Yeah,
Calvert-Lewin versus Wood sort of decisions that realistically just turn into sort of 60-point swings, and that's not going to happen on a free hit.
yeah. I think when you're free hitting in a blank game week, like if I like once I get to game week 34, I'm gonna have probably like I think 3 or 4 players. So
Yeah,
it's stress free in the sense that I know I'm not like if you play it in a double game week, then there's a chance where you can really mess up by your previous team outscoring your free hit team, but
yeah.
that's not gonna be the case. So yeah, let's see. And yeah, I might go for a few differentials there as well, depending on where my rank is. I think right now I'm on. Hopefully, like, I'm planning to get a top 100K. If I'm a bit lucky, I might get a top 50. But then
You never know.
by the time game week 34 comes around, if I'm struggling and if I'm lagging, then I'm gonna have to take some risks now.
Okay, let's talk about just this week for a little bit more. If you didn't have your three Palace and your three Newcastle players set up already, who would you be looking to get in? I mean, I don't know. I always assume with this sort of thing that people have similar teams to me, but a lot of the time they don't, and they're on different strategies or whatever. So I think it is definitely worth answering that question, just for people that might have two Newcastle, two Palace, but they're like, well, I've got the free transfers, I want to triple up. Where would you go? Can you just rank your sort of top five Newcastle, top five Palace?
Well, obviously for Newcastle, Isaac, and I'm going to go with Murphy a second because I think he just cemented himself as, especially with that brace last game week, as just a super nailed option now. And then I'd go for Livramento as third. I think in isolation, like Trippier's still got the highest upside and the most assist threat, etc., etc. But if you look at the price, I think I'd put Livramento ahead.
Yeah.
Then I'd go Trippier and then Burn. I like Barnes as an outside shout for this double game week specifically because Gordon didn't start. Well, he wasn't in the squad against Leicester. I think he'll be fine for game week 30.
Oh, really? Oh, I saw a rumor that he was out for the season. Is that now not?
Who, Gordon?
Yeah.
Oh, right. No, I didn't see that rumor.
I've heard a rumor that he's out for the season. Don't know if that's true or not. I mean, it's not confirmed by anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wait for official news on that, but let's just assume, he's going to be back soon. But him being not in the squad against Leicester tells me like, Barnes will start both these games in the double. So he'd be my differential pick for this week.
That could be a fun
But
punt. Yeah.
yeah, because if you look at his goal threat, he's actually historically got more goal threat than Murphy. If you look at his XG per 90, it's higher than Murphy's. It's like 0.36, whereas Murphy's 0.28. I had to be look at that the other day, and he scored like 13 goals for Leicester City in his final season there as well. So he's generally got more goal threat than Murphy. Despite Murphy scoring the brace last week,
Yeah.
and he got 90 minutes. He's got 90 minutes in the last two, so he's getting the minutes. If Gordon's out for the season, then he's a great punt.
Yeah, not sure
Um,
about that, but I definitely did see that. I will say as well on Livramento versus Trippier, I went for Trippier, and I'm slightly regretting that because I know he's got the set piece threat, but just looking at it in open play against Leicester, and who knows, this might have been like a one-off game thing, but I think Livramento just felt much more attacking in that game. It felt as if he was the one that was sort of allowed to go forward, and Trippier, there were a few
yeah,
times where I was like, okay, where's the right back? He's
yeah,
not. He wasn't overlapping. He was more like sort of a back three, in my opinion, in that game. I'll have a look at average positions in that game just in a
yeah.
second.
I think it was just maybe that game, but if I was to ask you how many assists Liverpool's got in the season, how many do you think he's got?
Oh, I know he's got a lot. I just feel like he
Liver-
has. Has he not?
That was his first assist of the season.
What? That's
Read
unbelievable.
it.
In my head, he's got like five.
That's what I thought, and then when I looked
Whoa,
at it, I
that's
was like, "What he's got?
crazy.
He's got no assists. That was his first assist of the season."
No way.
And yeah, so like, although he looks attacking, I mean, it's all about the kind of the final ball as well, right? I guess. But
That is
um,
unbelievable.
but yeah, I mean, look, Trippier last season got 10 assists, and season four he got 10 assists as well. He's on set pieces. He's
Yeah.
clearly the better option, right? But then
Okay.
obviously Livermore was 1 million cheaper, so I'd still kind of favor him on that basis. But yeah, I mean, obviously if money was no option, then Trippier's by far the better option.
I've got the average positions up on screen of the last game. Trippier's number two, Livramento's number 21. A big difference there, to be fair. Like Trippier does look like he's back three almost. That's his heat map there on screen. Majority in his own half. Livramento definitely slightly more attacking. Let's just look at the game before this, just to get a sort of. Did they both play in that game against Brentford? I think they
Uh,
did, didn't
they
they?
did, yeah, but Trippier's only played the last three, right? Started the last three,
Yeah.
so there's not much to go off, but
So in that game, it was much more
even.
even. So Livramento, I mean, I guess Brentford are slightly better, and Bumo is down that side, but yeah, that's a lot more even. So maybe it was just one game, unsure, but interesting nonetheless. I think I would. I think I would. Well, that stat is crazy to me. Can't believe that.
Well, the one
Wow.
assist thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mad because I mean, when you do watch him play, he does attack down the wing a lot, but Trippier's got that final ball, man. That just shows you how important that the final delivery is, and Trippier's got that. And yeah, I mean, if I was you, I honestly, I'd be. I know it's a bit of a bummer, like picking, getting 6 points off him, and the other cheaper guy got 11 points, but I think kind of going forward, I'd be confident that Trippier scores more than Livermore to the end of the season.
Interesting. You know when somebody says, "Guess how many XXX
Yeah.
is?" I always try. I can't help it. I shouldn't. I should just guess. But I always try and think, okay, why are they asking me this question? Sorry, I don't try and think. I always just do think, okay, why are they actually asking me this question? Do they want me to go low, so they'll go high? Do they want me to go high, so they'll go low, etc.?
Yeah.
What is the common answer to this question,
Yeah.
etc.? So I thought there that I would say like three or four, and then you'd say no. Actually, it's like he's having an unreal season. He's got like six or seven
Yeah.
assists. Did not expect it to go the other way at all.
Yeah. Well, I will say that was, I'm talking about just the league, by the way. I'm not sure if he's got any
Yeah, yeah,
assists.
yeah.
Yeah, this is just the league games we're
He's
talking
got
about. But yeah,
25 in the FA Cup, unbelievably.
25 what?
No, I said he's got 25 assists in the FA
All
Cup this season.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy with a Trippier. But yeah, it's just kind of, we digressed a bit. But on Palace,
Yeah, sorry, Palace.
yeah, Palace players, I think obviously my top three would be, I'll say them in order, right? Right now, it'll be Eze, Mateta, Sarr, and Munoz, and then Henderson.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying Eze is because Mateta has been taken off early, like in the last few games. I think obviously that's due to his kind of head injury. And Ketia is suspended for the first game, but that's against City away. So I do think Mateta will get, possibly the full 90 in that game. But then it's again, we don't know, kind of going forward whether the early subs is going to be like a thing now, and
Yeah.
because head injuries are one of those things where I guess they need more. I mean, as long as he's got that kind of like the mask on, I'm assuming he'll get a lot more early subs. So he's not as good as option as he was earlier in the season, but still on penalties. Still, you definitely should have him for this double game week for sure. But I just think Eze, he's getting the minutes now. He's on set pieces. He's got 2 assists last game. Just seems like he's kind of coming to a bit of form.
Okay, fair enough. Last question. I know we have been going for about half an hour, so an extended episode, but I feel like this week needs it. Just on assistant manager, because there are still a lot of managers out there that have their assistant manager chip that might be thinking of playing it this week. I'm not sure how much thought you've given this as someone that doesn't have the chip left, but when do you think is the best place to use that chip, if not this week? And then also, I think we need to just talk a little bit about who you would be going with this week.
I think pretty much similar to last week. I did look at it last week, and I think you've got to look at the guys who have got the doubles right. I think now if you're playing one, the only team that's got a double double is Palace. So just I just go for Glasner. Go for the upside. I guess you could go for it if you've got transfers there. You go for Eddie Howe this week, and then you can change to Glasner in game week 33. And then, game week 34, I've not really looked at that, to be honest. So you can just have a wee look at game week 34, look at that point, which teams will have the table bonus and things like that. But yeah, if you're looking at change managers, like how Glasner and then another manager in 34 looks fine. If you're looking to just, not use any transfers on it, just pick Glasner.
Okay, interesting. And if you don't use it this week, do you think the best week when do you think is the next best, like 36?
Yeah, so if you use it this week in Glasner, you'd go Glasner, and change in 34.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think you'd just wait till 36. I think just use it on a whim. If we get the double in 36, just use it then, 35, 36, 37, or 36, 37, 38. Yeah, again, it's one of those chips where you really need, it's quite restrictive.
Yeah.
It's just one of those you've got to plan for. You've got to get the money out of the bank, for getting the manager and things like that as well. So I would try and get it out of the way as soon as possible. If I still had mine, I'd probably just play in Glanzer this week.
Okay, good stuff, mate. And as always, guys, if you want to check out these predicted points for all the managers, for players, whatever, they change quite frequently, to be honest, based on new information and press conferences, and any sort of injury or flag change on FPL will change that. Then sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. Link is down below. If you're still watching at this point and you haven't signed up, then come on. What are you doing? Abdul, thank you very much, mate. That's going to do it for this one. Over half an hour of phenomenal content, if I do say so myself.
Wow. That didn't feel like half an hour at all.
There we go. This is the thing. Sometimes, honestly, I'm looking at the sort of the time here on my screen of how long we've been going, and we're at like sort of over 10 minutes, and I'm like, well, that's kind of it. It's a pretty boring week. This week is not that week. You could talk for ages about
season.
players and chip strategy. Yeah, exactly. But I think that's going to do it, mate. Thank you very much for your tips and advice, as always. Good luck this week. Good luck to all of you guys as well, and we will catch you next week.